Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. It is my absolute pleasure and to welcome as a guest to the show today, Michelle Jeovanny. She is a renowned spiritual life coach, mentor, channel, and successful entrepreneur who has devoted her life to helping individuals create wealth on every level, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, energetically, and financially. With her unique blend of spiritual magic, Michelle empowers her clients to activate and harmonize their potential in life and business to live a life of freedom, fulfillment, and flow. That sounds so juicy and delicious, and I can't wait to get into this conversation. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer. I'm super excited to be here. And that was a beautiful intro. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's my absolute pleasure. I mean, I can feel your energy, and we're going to have a super fun and really energizing conversation. And so, Michelle, I'd love for you to share more with us about, your area of expertise, like how you work with clients, but also what inspired you to this journey.
Yeah, I feel like my journey was very divinely orchestrated. I didn't even know that coaching existed, to be honest. I was just on this journey of like I'm gonna create massive success, and I had this dream in my heart that I wanted to serve as many people as possible on that journey. Um, but I believe it really stems from my childhood and all the things that I experienced. I grew up in Dominican Republic, and my mom was in a really domestic, violent, abusive situation, and that really instilled in me this yearning that no child should go through what I experienced, that no mother, no woman should go through what my mother experienced. And so there was a warrior in me that was birthed through that pain that was like, no, there has to be a way. And I didn't know about coaching until much later on when it landed on my feet. I was in Wall Street. I was a financial surveillance auditor. I ran away from Dominican Republic, came to New York, and after being homeless for a few months, I put myself through college and I landed on Wall Street. And again, it was with that initial desire and longing to change the world. And I thought to myself, if I could do it from inside the government, from inside the system,
Yeah.
that would be a really powerful way to lead that charge. But in 2008, when the housing bubble burst, I was one of the fortunate ones that got laid off, and I chose to get laid off. I was the first one in my department that took that golden ticket, and I still didn't know about coaching until it landed on my lap where someone invited me to a training, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. That's when, you know, a, I had always a connection to the spirit realm where I could see spirits and I can hear guides. And it was in those training rooms that I went from seeing my ancestors and my guides to seeing the other people, other people's guides and ancestors. And I just remember saying to myself, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to serve people in this way. And so I developed myself as a coach and as a facilitator, and then as a coach of coaches. And then I started to also do my own trainings and retreats.
I love that. And there are so many common threads that we actually have in both of our journeys with I not on Wall Street, but had worked in corporate and transitioned out of, that career into doing the work that I'm doing today. And similar to you, I also didn't know really what coaching that this dynamic, right? This type of coaching existed until I was already in the midst of this really catalyzing spiritual awakening. And then similar to how you said you got the invite, right? Like it popped up in my email mysteriously. I don't even know how. It's like this invitation to train for this spiritually based coaching program. And as soon as I saw it, I was just like, that's it. So
Yes.
anyways, this conversation's about you, but I wanted to share it's like crazy. All the synchronicities that happen, right? If we're just even intentional about noticing those, there really just is so much support around us, guiding our path forward.
I truly believe everything is rigged in our favor. And it's like you said, if we set that intention to just stay open and curious, there's going to be a trail of signs. There's going to be a trail of synchronicities happening that you can't miss it if you're present and open and willing to see them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'd love for you to share with us more about your work.
Yeah, my work is it's evolved, right? At first it started as a mindset and leadership coach and then this transformational trainer, and I still integrate a lot of the things that I've learned over the course of 17 years in coaching and mentoring. But I'm in this really beautiful intersection of ancestral healing and feminine leadership and masculine leadership with the art of transformation, the art of alchemy and quantum mysticism. I love integrating a lot of different modalities. So I'm seeing so many amazing results with clients and participants with the somatic leadership and the ancestral healing. There's a framework that I lead people in really arriving into the wisdom of their body and that ancestral power that's just there underneath the shadows and the traumas waiting to be unleashed and integrated.
I love that. And I especially love what you said about really just like anchoring into that wisdom in the body. I feel like, that the whole embodiment aspect of the journey is being talked about more and more, out in the mainstream, but it's still just not covered, nearly enough. We live in such like this information based kind of age society, right? And even a lot of the teachings that are out there, it's are more focused around intellectual understanding, right? Versus really getting down into the weeds, for lack of a better way to put it. And, how do you anchor that, all of that into your body, which is such a large part of the work that I do with clients as well. So, yet another common thread that we share. I love that so much. Um, what would be some of the signs that it would be beneficial for someone to reach out for support? Because we also talk a lot about, how the answers are from within and we know where we're being guided at a soul level. It's just a matter of unlocking that and tuning into it. But there are also times, right, where receiving the support from another can help to make all of the difference.
I attribute all of my success and all of my growth to my mentorships, to my mentors and teachers. I really believe that we are not designed to go at it alone. And we never are, right? Because spirit is with us. We are divinely guided. And we also need each other as humans. We're social beings. And a lot of the trauma, the woundings, the shadows that got created for us as children in that 0 to 9 period
Yeah.
was created in relationship. And so a lot of the healing also happens in relationship, a lot of the integration, a lot of the releasing. And so I really believe that if anyone is up to playing a big game in life, and if anyone is calling in success on their terms, wealth on all levels, it does require for us to humble ourselves and to understand that we do need mentors and teachers to support us in seeing the blind spots that we're not able to see in ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, and what you said about specifically around being humble, I believe is really important, cultivating those qualities of both humility and curiosity on our journey, right?
Absolutely.
To know that we don't know it all, and that's okay. It's okay that we don't.
And that we're not meant to know it all, right?
Right.
Like we're growing, and we're growing through experiences and hardships that cultivate that deep knowing, that remembrance. And I do feel there's like a distinction here to be made. It's like when you read a book, it's very different to when you ride the bike. And it's also very different when you go to an online course that you take, once a week, or whenever you decide to create space in your life to listen to that class, versus when you immerse yourself in something that is really serving as a catalyst for you to grow into a that next level that you're desiring. For some people, reading the book could take 5 to 7 years to get there, but when you immerse yourself in that immersive experience, when you're in it, in a mentorship container, in a retreat setting, you tend to quantum leap and collapse time, because you're moving in a space designed for you to have that accelerated learning.
Yeah, I agree. There's absolutely so much value in being held in that space.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. There are so many people who are in transition right now, right? Whether that is someone who's making what you would refer to as that initial leap from their corporate career or career on Wall Street into really answering the call to where they're being guided. There are people who have already answered that initial call and who are being called to step into an elevated path for themselves. What would be a couple of the most important pieces of advice or wisdom that you can share for someone to make that shift with the most ease and grace?
Such a great question. I find that in corporate, something that was really puzzling for me is how people would devote themselves to these companies that would let them go without thinking twice. Because at the end of the day, what ruled a lot of the decision making was the numbers. The numbers had to make sense. And so you saw people get laid off in 2008 in the stock exchange that I was working at, that had been working for 35 years. And I was dumbfounded. There was no loyalty. And so I believe for people, it's super important to have this intimacy with yourself, where you're clear of like where do you want to be? How do you want life to feel? When you wake up in the morning, down to the very last hour before you go to bed, how do you want to feel through those micro moments? What do you want to experience? And create like a bucket list of experiences that you truly desire, that you can, use that magic wand analogy to really get big and get bold. Because the bigger our dreams, the bolder our dreams, the more bold action emerges. And so we start to dare bigger. We start to take bigger risk. And so developing that intimacy for me is the first space, the first step. And then start opening yourself up to, like, think about what's in the way.
Mhm.
What's in the way? And what I mean by that is a lot of people won't take that leap because they think they don't have what it takes. And so sometimes it's a worth conversation, a self love conversation. It can be a mindset thing, a belief thing. Oftentimes I notice that people stay stuck in the same situation because they believe that's all they have. And I really want to challenge that for all the listeners. Like, no, you were meant for every single dream and desire that you have in your heart. And if you don't have a dream right now, get into the space of being a bold dreamer, having that intimacy with yourself where you write down this bucket list of experiences, because this will be the youngest we'll ever be. You and I are the youngest we'll ever be today. And the more we dream, the bigger we start to show up in response to those dreams.
Yeah, I love that. And to take that even a step further for someone who has already made that leap, from someone who's already an entrepreneur and paving their own path and being called to something even greater, right, than what they've stepped into to date. Uh, there can be some other things that surface, right, in terms of stretching us when we're getting ready to up level. What would be your advice around maybe what are a couple of the more common things that come up and moving through those with the most ease and grace?
Absolutely. One of the things that shows up for me in this polarity of manifestation and expansion is that it's like one foot in gratitude, one foot in desire. There's the all of the ancient teachings really speak to anything that gets us stuck is about resistance. But what is that resistance? It's a fear. It's a fear of we don't have what it takes, we're not enough, or whatever it is. So if you're in that path already of taking steps towards your dream and you find yourself stuck in a situation where you're deeply frustrated and you're in resistance, you know there's something more, you know that there's a reason why you're on this path. I would say continue with conviction, continue waking up really choosing from the vision, the steps, the mindset, the thinking, the thoughts, the steps that will move into alignment with that bigger vision. And secondly, get present to, are you fully receiving where you are right now? Are you fully receiving the things that you have in your life? Because oftentimes we get stuck in the wanting more, which is coming from this scarcity, this illusion of scarcity. Yet you have so much right now. Right now, if you have more than $2, you're richer than 85% of the world. More than $2 in this country. And so we often forget the richness of our lives and we're not present and we're not allowing ourselves to fully receive that. And so we just keep spinning our wheels in
Yeah.
scarcity. But true wealth starts beyond scarcity, it skips it entirely. It's a remembrance of how truly abundant we are in this moment.
And we're in that, and when we're in that space of scarcity, we're also not being present, right? Like, uh,
Exactly.
that's really what it all comes back to, being in this now moment. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Something that I teach about often and talk about often is the importance of being really anchored in truth in your body and what truth feels like in your body, and really using that as the basis with which to navigate all of your decisions and your path. What are your thoughts on the value of that?
Huge. It's huge. And being in that truth frequency is the secret to true wealth on all levels. What I find interesting is that a lot of people don't know what being in truth feels like and
Yeah.
is because they've been really pretending like they don't know. They've been putting on all of these masks in terms of people pleasing and needing to belong and needing to be liked. And I myself was there as well. And so you start to reorient yourself in what you think people need of you without really acknowledging how I feel and how what I need and what's alive for me. And so the other part to this is that a lot of people will skip the truth serum because they don't like feeling the depth of what is here, the
Yeah.
pain, the sadness, the grief that's here to be felt, to really align with that truth frequency. But that is the key to unlocking all of it, is when you start to really be authentic and to share from that deep alignment of what's alive and present for you in this moment.
Absolutely. And speaking about it just in really the simplest of context, you know, all of us have already had an experience of what that truth feels like in our body. There was a time, an occasion, at least one for everybody in positive, that where they just knew something and maybe they just knew it and couldn't explain why they knew it or they felt it in their body. But really recalling that as like a place to start in terms of, okay, well, what does it feel like to feel, what's true? Because I really, it's more of a knowing rather than a believing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely is annoying and it's a feeling as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been trapped in creating these amazing lives, myself included, that didn't feel good. It looked great on paper, but it didn't
Yeah.
feel good. And so, really allowing yourself to feel the truth of what is here will start to create space to align yourself to what you truly desire.
Yeah, and even beyond that initial transition from your corporate, from your Wall Street, whatever that initial career is for someone into following a spiritual path and in the coaching industry, even there is a lot that's changing there, right? There has even been an element of like programming and conditioning that is ego based around how something needs to be done in order for someone to be successful. And I'm laughing about this only because you have to have a sense of humor about this. Like, as humans, we're so dang cute. We're just like, oh my gosh, I've had this huge awakening. Like, I want to change the world and dedicate myself to a life of service and all of that. And then what do? We make that change and we take that leap, which we should actually absolutely be celebrated for. But then we continue applying so many of those ego-based constructs
Yeah.
to try to manifest, to create that innovative, out of the box, dream, right? That we're meant to bring to life here. And I think that's another big component that folks struggle with as well is transcending those constructs, and it's just so interesting because there are just all of these evolutionary phases on our path. I mean, do you see that too?
I blame it on the new age. I
Gosh,
feel like
new age even of itself is like, the name new age, by the way, it's like it's not new, by the way, none of
at
it.
all,
It's
at all,
ancient, very ancient.
there's nothing new under the sun. And I think people are missing the point. It's not about creating something that you get to slap your name on it. This missing the time that so many teachers and elders and indigenous communities put into that. A lot of spiritual teachers sacrificed their lives to
Yep.
be on the path that they went. And when you think of the great spiritual leaders like Yeshua, like Buddha, all of the stories start with them leaving the castle. They left home. They
Yes.
left home and they gave up all of the pleasures. And here you are taking concepts, creating 5 steps out of it so that you can feel significant in this pursuit of changing the world. But I think here's where it stands out for me. It's for the listeners that are listening, it's really discerning. It's really discernment when you can get clear on, does that person really feel like they're walking, talking, and then fully embodying their message? How is their situation at home? We have a lot of life coaches that are 25-year-olds who have no experience in life yet, because a lot of life begins after 27. In astrology, a lot of your adult years, you're considered an adult after 27, after your solar return. And sometimes that happens at 29. And so I find that there's something that's happening in the work where there's a lot of artists, actors, painters, amazing gifted people that are subscribing to being life coaches because they it gives them this significance. And so I feel that to each their own. I celebrate them for even the risk in going that rabbit hole. But let's start at home. If you really want to make a difference in the world, start at home. Start with your family. Start with your relationship. Start with your partner, and really be the embodiment of what you teach and preach there.
Yes, and embodying your truth. Right?
Yes.
Really looking at the truth of who you are, getting radically honest with yourself about that, and and its congruence to, as you said, all of the other extensions of you and your life here.
Yes.
Your relationships, your work, your body, yourself, all of the things.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, absolutely. Something else I'm feeling guided to ask you about is you are also a channel. And something, that I also speak about often is that all of us are channels, all of us our journey here. We're half heaven, half earth. The whole point of the journey is becoming embodied in our divinity, this journey of remembrance of who we are. Jesus and Mary Magdalene are great examples of that. Um, and it's just a matter of tapping into yourself with more depth, right? And tapping into the depth of your connection with God, Mother, Father, God, Source, however someone refers to their higher power. What would be your, top one or two pieces of wisdom that you can share that someone could take action to develop more of that depth of connection and unlock more of their own abilities?
Yeah, this is such a great question. Returning to nature is a really big one. Like really spending time in nature, slowing down to that rhythm of nature, allowing yourself to really release the static that's in our channels by returning to nature, taking care of yourself, learning how to be with yourself, like really be with yourself, off the phone, off the gadgets. Having time in prayer is really important for me. So getting to develop that level of intimacy with your higher power, taking time to get to be in relationship with this higher power, not just refer to it as this, uni one lateral, one way conversation where
Yep.
you're speaking to God when you're in the trenches and you're like, please God save me. Like really taking time to develop that intimacy and that relationship where it's magnetic, it's pure, it's present, you're speaking, you're developing this two-way channel, and definitely slowing down. I'm going to say that again. I know it kind of brings us back to the nature piece, but slowing down to be with God requires a level of intimacy that is uncomfortable at first. It can feel uncomfortable to be with yourself on that level. It can also feel painful because, again, when we go back to that static that's there, a lot of it stems from programming, conditioning, as you said earlier, and also painful trauma, things, stories that we keep looping in the mind because we feel incomplete and because that's the assignment to heal that, to integrate that. And some of us get stuck in that loop, but it's important to develop that level of presence with yourself where you're able to move through the pain and you're able to move through it in a way that is not victim stance but more of like this curiosity and this compassion with yourself of like, what are all the parts of me trying to say here and communicate when I'm sick or when I'm resistant to my partner, where I'm, you know, disliking my boss right now, for example, for those that are in a job that they may not like what is the lesson here and how can you open yourself to be used by this higher power to bring in the unique frequency that you have that no one else has but you, because we're all here with this divine assignment called your unique frequency. And what I'm noticing more and more, Jennifer, is that a lot of people are hoarding this energy by staying at home behind laptops or staying at home behind their phone scrolling. And we're meant to share this energy. We're meant to go outside of our homes. We're meant to be in this exchange to grow, to evolve, and to also support Mother Earth with our unique frequency.
Absolutely. In some ways, are the age that we're living in of this technology can be a blessing. It has also, I believe, fostered that kind of disconnectedness that you're talking about, right? Getting used to being virtual and just not getting out in your community as much. It's so interesting you bring that up because I've felt those energies at a collective level, especially these last couple 2 or 3 months.
And also reminding people that they are the technology. You and me are the technology. The gadgets, they're tools to enhance the technology of what we are, what we truly are.
Right.
Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
The phone and the internet are cute, but it's you. You're the
Right.
technology.
Yeah. Yeah, which goes back, right, to what I was what I said earlier about how all of us are channels. All of us have these abilities to
Yes.
communicate with each
Yes.
other and connect with each other that surpass any kind of mode of external communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We could go down so many rabbit holes.
Oh my gosh, I'm loving it.
I love these conversations. Michelle, in closing, just what else are you feeling guided to bring forward in this now moment?
I am a firm believer that God gives us exactly what we're meant to teach once we transcend it. And
Yeah.
so, wherever people are, whatever situation that they're experiencing, know this is not the end. This is the beginning. This is the initiation. And so, go forward, take charge, create the life that most inspires you to live boldly in your purest, truest, most authentic joy. And I'd love to just share something that is an offer from my heart. You know, if they feel called to follow me, it's my name, Michelle Jeovanny, on all social media and websites. And if they go to my website, they'll receive a bundle of meditations and guided hypnosis that will support them in really taking ownership of that frequency. And we have a retreat coming up in April 24th called Sacred Alchemy that is just this divine 4 day portal of initiation to really reclaim. I walk people through this framework of somatic leadership to really open up their channel, their voice, their authority, and their leadership in life.
Beautiful message and beautiful, beautiful offering. Thank you so much, Michelle. And we will have those links for folks who are listening in the show notes as well to easily connect with her. Michelle, thank you. Thank you so much. It really has been a breath of fresh air connecting
Mm.
with you. Such an honor. And thank you. Thank you for just being here, being you, doing all you do, being who you are.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for the work that you're doing. As soon as I read the name and felt the energy behind your podcast, I'm like, this is a true one. So thank you for the work that you're doing
Oh,
as
thanks.
well.
I received that with my whole heart. Thanks so much. Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.